Hello, my name is Brett Abram, and I'm here to address a growing concern in the staggering rates of suicide increase in today's society. One thing that this suicide trend is being linked to is the increased technology or access to social media in today's youth. Cyberbullying is rampant, and it is affecting our youth. They are hitting roadblocks in their mental development, and it is causing a staggering increase in the age gap of suicide. For instance, there are cases of 9 and 10-year-olds, as low as 8-year-olds, committing suicide after years of bullying in public schools or school system, as well as on social media. So this is a public health issue, and this proposed policy or piece of legislation some consider as infringement upon Second Amendment rights. However, it is more importantly addressing suicide and how these teens are carrying the act out. Most commonly, the teens are finding ways to get a family member's gun, or getting a gun off the street in order to carry out their suicide. So this piece of legislation is not so much a gun control issue as it is a suicide confrontation. The proposed policy will affect anybody living in the United States, especially those in favor of guns or the right to bear arms. However, I think as a nation we need to really dig down and find a root cause or root problem. That being the cyberbullying or the social media, but the way in which these teens and young adults are carrying out suicides is through the use of guns. The policy addresses the health issue by confronting the means in which these suicides are being taken, or how they are being, how the suicides are being carried out. The change enacted by this policy is stricter measures on getting the guns, or more specifically in tougher background checks, a longer application time. In some states you can go and sign up, and the process takes a matter of minutes. So what I am proposing are more in-depth background checks, a lengthier application period, and that way anybody that is trying to access a gun for the specific act of carrying out suicide would have to wait in order to give them a time to cool down, or find another way to release the stress. The costs associated with this are minimal. There are already background checks in place. This policy will just ensure that a tougher or stricter background checks are implemented, as well as, like I said, the application period. The risks, associated with this are opponents of stricter gun laws, specifically Second Amendment right enthusiasts, or constitutionalists that will question the legality of enacting stricter gun laws. And I believe the way in which we can spin this in a positive light to confront that issue is bringing up the suicide, the public health issue that this policy is mainly directed to. So those opponents to this policy would have to really question their conscience on how these teens or the youth are carrying out the suicides. The most important message that needs to be heard is that suicides are on the rise, and the most common way in which these suicides are taken out or carried out are through guns. And so I believe the public health issue might seem more like an agenda for anti-gun or anti-Second Amendment rights groups, but it's more of an address it's more of a policy that addresses the suicide rates. I think that this is a public issue, and there's outcry for change, and the only way to really do that is to confront the way in which these suicides are being carried out. I know that politically this is a charged topic, and it's not going to go over easy, but really what needs to be kept in mind and highlighted is the suicides that are on the rise. Enacting this policy will not only improve public health by decreasing suicides, but it's also a way in which we can ensure the safety of the youth of America. I know, like I stated before, opponents of this will think of it as an infringement upon Second Amendment rights, but it's you have to think of how the benefits of this will outweigh the cons, and that will be in the way of confronting suicides, specifically suicides by guns. I hope that all those that are present for this really question and think hard on their conscience of how can we better the laws, and how can we make it harder for those that wish to carry out suicide to get the guns that they're using. I thank you for your time, and I really wish and I hope that we can find the best possible way to confront this public health issue, and the policy that I'm considering, or that I'm proposing, is through a tougher gun law and tougher background checks, or longer application periods. That way we can make it just a little bit more difficult for those that wish to carry out suicide by alleviating the means in which they will do so. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.